Hydroponics is a method of growing plants in only water and fertilizer with a small amount of growing media. Today, I will show you how to make a small desktop setup as well as a slightly larger setup with PVC pipes. The fun part about hydroponics is that there are no real rules to how you have to set up your system, but there are 5 things that all systems must have. The first thing is a container. These can be large or small depending on what you're growing and how much. When selecting a container, you can buy a mason jar or PVC pipe, or you can recycle containers from food. These include plastic bottles, old milk jugs, or if you want a container that doesn't need any additional holes, you can also use a thoroughly cleaned jar. Just make sure whatever you choose fits your space and you're good to go. Second, you'll need a growing media. Like all plants grown in hydroponics need something to secure their root systems. Otherwise, your plant would sink and that would be rather unfortunate. And to hold the media, you'll need to get your hands on a Netcup like this one. If you don't want to buy one, you can get creative and try making one out of old plastic bottles. Like I said before, you can be as creative as you want with these designs because there aren't really any real rules to making a system as long as it works. Anyways, getting back to the actual growing media, what most growers use is either Rockwool, like I have here, or Hydroponics. I don't have any of this, but they're essentially small clay pebbles and are slightly pricier. I've also seen success just using fine gravel, however, this was in a much larger system. If you're going for a relatively small and expensive system, I recommend using a small pack of Rockwool. I'll leave links in the description to where I bought mine. Once you have these two, you can get to the fun part, planting. When choosing plants, it's best to use a plant that you can start from seed, because plants moved from soil to water usually don't do super well, but it is possible. Personally, I use hydroponics to start tomato and pepper seeds in the winter, and then during the warmer months, I grow leafy vegetables like this lettuce and chard. My reasoning for this is plants in hydroponics tend to produce a lot more foliage and roots, so this can be great for establishing them quickly before moving them into harsh outdoor conditions. Because it is summer right now, I don't really have a lot planted in these systems, but as soon as it gets cooler, I'll show you how I do hydroponics in the winter. The last thing I want to mention about plants in hydroponics is that it's a great way to start cuttings. So if there are any trees or bushes that you want to make more of, consider using hydroponics to aid you in this endeavor. The final 2 things go together, and they are water and fertilizer. There are a ton of brands of fertilizer blends out there that work fairly well, so whatever you can get your hands on will probably work. Just make sure that whatever fertilizer you get is multiple parts. This is very important in order to make sure you get the correct nutrient ratio. There are 3 blends that a lot of growers have had good success with, and they are General Hydroponics 3-part blend, Fox Farms Hydroponic 3-part blend, and the Master Blend formula. These all have instructions for what ratios you can use for different stages of growth, and I'll leave links in the description to where you can get each of them. Just simply mix them in with your water in the appropriate quantities and boom, you're done. Keep in mind that as water evaporates or gets absorbed, the fertilizer solution becomes more concentrated. So you should add water with just a very tiny amount of fertilizer to top it off regularly. Just be sure to completely empty your container regularly and mix in the solution. A bit of warning, don't over-fertilize your plants or they will shrivel up and be very sad. With all that being said, all you have to do now is simply assemble these components and put them under a grow light or sunny window, and you have yourself the simplest possible system for roughly $2 a plant, depending on how many of the materials you already owned. But if you were looking to go a bit bigger, as I've shown previously, I have these 2 PVC pipes that I've turned into a slightly larger system. I made each of these 2-foot foam core PVC pipes with a 4-inch diameter, a PVC cap that I attached using cement and primer, and this rubber cap which can be removed for easier cleaning. Then I drilled holes for the plants and holes for the aeration tubes, which are connected to the splitter, connected to this pump, and it all cost about $37 per pipe, not counting the drill press and bits that I used to make the holes. However, this isn't the only way to make a large system. I use these pipes because they fit perfectly on this 9-inch shelf, but an easier option is just to get a large taupe or Tupperware container and drill holes in it. You'll probably have more success using Tupperware containers, and it's also cheaper. I only use the PVC pipes for convenience. One more addition that's optional but highly beneficial is aeration. I mentioned this earlier, but it can be done by simply adding a pump and some tubing to your setup. Without aeration, the roots will be forced to ferment due to lack of oxygen. This will have a very little impact short term, but long term it will eventually diminish your plant's health. So keep that in mind if you want something that will be growing for more than 2 months before harvesting. Sometimes your system will get lime or salt clumps on the side from the fertilizer. These stains are caused by the water evaporating, leaving fertilizer residue behind. They can be a bit tricky to clean off, but using warm water mixed with vinegar and a lot of scrubbing, you can usually get rid of it. I also let my containers soak in a dilute vinegar solution between plantings. This is my previous hydroponic system that I obviously did not make. As you can see, it's covered with these stains, which is why minimizing evaporation is very important, and also why I no longer use it. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed it. Also, if you do end up making your own systems, post it on Instagram and tag me at cfg_designs and I'll feature you on my story. With all that being said, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.